Hi, you guys. Guess what? Last LearnZillion lesson of the year. And it's a pretty short one, so that's a good thing. And we're going to get through kind of quick. All right, so this is kind of just building on what we've been doing with the percents. Where it's going to talk about like retail and wholesale, okay? So the first part of this is leaving a tip. Which of these expressions represents a 15% tip on a $20 meal? All right, this one does not, because it is not 0.15. Remember, you have to change the percent to a decimal. It doesn't change a percent to a decimal, so that wouldn't work. You would be leaving a $300 tip on a $20 meal. Okay, so that one wouldn't work. Now it's asking me two questions: which represents the total bill and which represents 15% tip? This represents the tip. This represents the bill, so this goes with this. It represents the total bill with tip. Okay, so this one works. This is the same thing. If I did 1 times 20, I'm going to get 20. 0.15, just like the distributed property. 0.15 times 20 is going to give me 0.15 times 20. So this also does the total bill with the tip. All right, and this is the same as 0.15 times 20, which would give you the tip. So those three work, okay? So for just the tip, it would just be this one. For the meal and the bill, it would be the other two, okay? All right, so we're gonna talk about some words, and I wrote them down at the bottom real quick before we even go on here. You've got wholesale and retail, okay? So it's kind of important to know those before we talk about the car dealership problem, which is the one I just skipped. So wholesale is what if a business buys stuff. So business buying stuff buys it wholesale, okay? So there's wholesalers that sell businesses stuff. They mark up the price and sell it for retail, okay? That's how a business makes money. So they buy it cheaper than they sell it for. So wholesale is what a business pays for something. Retail is what a business sells it for, okay? So you need to know the difference between those two. So wholesale is kind of like your original amount, if that makes sense, and retail would be your new amount. All right, so knowing that, it says the car dealership wants to make a 32% profit. How much will they mark up the price of the vehicle? So this would be the markup, okay? My X is gonna be the markup. That means how much more do they get over the original, which says it was $12,000, is equal to the percent over 100, okay? So that's one way to do that. I like the proportion because I think it's easier. Or you could just do, there's two ways to do this. I could do 12,000 times 32 times 32 and then divide it by 100. Or I could just change that to a decimal, okay? So we'll do this way first. So if I did 1,200 times 32, I don't know what that is, so I'm gonna do it on a calculator, which of course I don't have ready for you. Hold on, yeah, there we go. So if I do 1,200 times 32, 12,000, not 1,200, that'd be a cheap car, times 32, and then divide it by 100, I get 3,840, okay? So 3,840. So that's how much more they're gonna charge somebody. They buy it for $12,000. They're gonna tack on 3,840. Okay, that's the markup. That's the money they're gonna make on that car. So what is the retail price? The retail price would be the original plus the markup, plus the 3,840. So it would be 15,000, which I'm gonna put over here because I ran out of room. $15,840. Okay, so that's how I would figure that out. I figure out how much is 32% of 12,000. Okay, and there's two ways to do this. I could do 0.32 times 12,000, or I could do the markup over the original as a percent over 100. Both are going to give you the same answer. Okay. All right, the second part of this question, I'm going to find a color I haven't. I'll use red because you can see the red. During a special sales event, the dealership offers a 10% discount off the retail price. Okay. So how much will this cost? Now, if you had 10% off, that means you're paying 90%. So 10% discount means you're paying 90%. So if I figured out how much I would pay over 12,000, always the original goes on the bottom, is equal to 90 over 100. And again, I could do it this way, or I could do 12,000 times 0.9. Both are going to give you the same answer, not answer. So I did 12,000 times 90 divided by 100. I get 10,800, okay? If I do 12,000 times 0.9, I get 10,800. Okay, I could have also found 10% of the price and then subtracted it. Okay, there's a bunch of different ways that you could do this. This is probably the easiest way. All right, resale, wholesale, retail, wholesale. I can't even talk anymore. All right, this is a good question actually. It says the car dealership pays a salesperson a bonus for selling the car equal to 6.5% of the sale price. How much commission did the salesperson lose when they decided to offer a 10% discount? Okay, so it says they pay the salesperson 6.5% of the sales price. Okay, so they have to pay them 6.5%. So let's do two things. We knew what the 10% discount of the car is because we just did it. It was 10,800. Because we just did that. That's how much the discount price was. Then it says you have to pay the salesperson 6.5% of the car. Okay. So if I did 6.5% of 10,800, so this would be 0.065 of means times 10,800. Okay, so when I figure that out, I've got 0.065 times 10,800. Okay, so the salesperson made $702. So the question on the other part was asking me, well, what did they make before? What would they have made on the original price or on the retail price originally? And that's what we figured out here, which was $15,840, okay? After the markup, if that's what they sold the car for, okay? Instead of a 10% discount. Oh, off the retail price. I did off the, well, that was dumb. Not off the retail price. I did 10% off of, oh man. Sorry, I didn't read through that very carefully. I thought it said 10% off the wholesale, and it says retail. So everything I did there is right if it was wholesale, but let's do that again. So if I did 10% off the retail, I would do, my retail was 15,840 times, okay, 0.9 equals, so I can fix my mistakes, 840 times 0.9. All right, it's 14,000. Okay, so we're going to get rid of that. It's 14,256. That's with 10% off, okay? So just kind of get rid of that. We did it up here. You're going to love my arrows everywhere. All right, so I'm going to switch this up. 14,256. Okay, so if he did 0.065 times 14,256 equals, okay? 0.065 times 14,256. I get 926.64. That's what the salesman made. All right, if it were without the 10%, it's saying what would he have made? So that one was, I'm gonna go in a different color, originally 15,840, okay? This was with the markup. So I would do 0.65 times 15,840. $15,840, and I get $1,029.60. All right. So the actual question is asking me, what did the salesman, how much would he lose? So I would subtract those two. Look at me, I put the decimal in the wrong spot. 029, you guys. Forgot my 0. So you would do 1,029.60 minus 926.64. And I get, he lost $102 on that sale, 96 cents. Okay? All that work for one problem. So that's what it would tell me if he lost it. We only have 2 more to get through though, so it's not too bad. All right, let's go on to this one. It says, for each membership sold, the gym keeps $42 and the employee who sold it gets $8, okay? What is the commission the employee earns? All right, this one's a little tricky because the gym gets 42, the person gets 8, which means the total cost was 50. That's what the gym got plus what the guy gets is 50. I want to know what percent he has. So I'm going to set it up as a part over whole. So commission over the total is equal to my percent, which is going to be my variable, over 100. So I would do 800 divided by 50 is equal to, what is the commission? Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I hate when that happens. Well, 80 divided by 5 is 16, so I can get rid of these zeros and I get 16%. Okay, so that's the commission he got. All right, so the second part of this question is, so I just did the percent over 100. I did the commission over the original percent over 100, okay? Now it says if the employee sells a family pass for $135, what is the amount of commission he'll get? Okay, so I'm looking for the commission over the total. Now it's 135. I know that he gets 16% because we just figured that out, over 100. Okay, so I would set that up. Commission over total, percent over 100. So I would do 16 times 135. 16 times, I'll clear my calculator first. 16 times 135 divided by 100. So I did 16 times 135 divided by 100, and I got 21.6 or $21.60. That would be his commission. Okay, so really all the percent problems are set up the same. Part over whole equals percent over 100 if you do it that way. If you change your decimal to a percent, or percent to a decimal, I mean, you just move it over 2 places. So it just depends on how you set it up. I like proportions because they are all the same. I know that the book likes the equations a little bit better, but literally the total or the original is always on the bottom. The percent is always here. 100 is always here. This is always the part, okay? So it always works that way. I like the proportions because I think they're easy to set up with a problem. You can do equations or you can do proportions, I don't care. Both will work. All right. Have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.